Hey guys, hope everyone is doing well. Wanted to put together a tutorial on the QBR generator in mission control, being that QBR season is upon us, just as a resource for anybody to use as you guys start making QBRs for clients this quarter. So obviously from the home page, going to navigate to the QBR generator. This first screen that you will see looks a little bit different. I know I've had the chance to share this on a call or two, as well as just kind of go over the process in general. But with that being said, on the left-hand side, you will now see all of your clients who are eligible for a QBR. And all that eligibility means is that the client is at least 90 days old with us and has their Gorgeous connected to mission control. From here, you can denote which of your clients you would like to make a QBR for, just to give the management team that visibility on what your plan is. And then as soon as you are ready to go ahead and create that QBR, you can do so by, of course, clicking the Create QBR button. So let's go ahead and make one for my client, GamerSups. From this first page of the setup wizard, you have the option to either filter the data that the app will pull for specifically your team members, or if you wanted to use the full account's worth of data instead, you can do that as well. If you haven't yet selected the team members that belong to you within Gorgeous, you can either navigate to that page by clicking Edit Team, going down to the client's page, so GamerSups. It'll pull all of the Gorgeous users. You can then select the Talent Pop agents so that you are pulling specifically their data. And this also, by the way, lives under the My Clients section. It'll pull you straight to that same page. If you wanted to set that up for your clients, I'd recommend doing that ahead of time. But let's jump back into here. And for this QBR, I will just pull our GamerSups agents data. Ticket context, here you can decide whether or not you would like to include ticket field information if that's something that your client uses and finds helpful. In order to do that, you would just select this to toggle it on. And then from Gorgeous, what you can do is take a screenshot of the ticket fields that you wanted to throw in there, drag and drop it right here. It will scan those, automatically pull them, and kind of separate them by category and value. You can always add some more if you wanted to. For example, like just add another one right there and it will pull that in, so on and so forth. And then if you do include ticket fields, you can also choose whether or not to include information about tagging data that it will also pull. Kind of no harm in this. I feel like why not? So I will likely keep that on for my own clients. For the step 3, this is where you can add call context from any of the calls that you've had with these clients. So the way to use this is you would copy paste the AI summary. I would definitely recommend doing this versus the full transcript. And that was actually a recommendation from Claude. It basically said like, yeah, we'll be able to pull everything that we kind of need, like highlights, things like that from the AI summary. Anywhere from 3 to 5 calls is going to be the recommendation. And for the content that the app eventually generates for the QBRs, it will more heavily lean on leveraging information from the call context. Otherwise, it's going to default to deriving some content from the data that it's pulling from Gorgeous. So definitely would recommend doing this, especially if it's a client that you have frequent calls with. Step 4 is going to be some optional slides. So first and foremost, if you have a client that is interested in seeing revenue statistics in Gorgeous, you would want to toggle this on. As a heads up, this does require obviously Shopify connection, which pretty much every client's going to have. And then it is a different tier of Gorgeous, so not every client will have this. No worries if not. If they don't have it, it will just kind of give you a message in the editor page that there was no revenue data found. So if you aren't sure, no harm in toggling this on. And then additionally, agent fan base. This is also probably something that you're going to want to always toggle on because it's quite cool. It will go through and look for high CSAT score surveys, especially prioritizing any of those that mention any of the agents by name. And then it will give you, I believe it pulls 20 reviews. Then in the editor page, which again, I'll show you in just a second, you can select up to 5 to include in the QBR. And then everything else below here are going to be some optional slides that will pitch some of our alternative services. This one, the Let's Automate, is pretty much pulled exactly from our current QBRs. So let's say you wanted to pitch your client on increasing their automation rate. Let's say I want to make it 30%. That's our goal. You can adjust that there. Everything else is going to just be, again, some pitches on some of our alternative services, like our different roles, bespoke recruitment, so on and so forth. You can choose to include all these if you'd like. Again, from the editor page, you can exclude them if you end up not wanting to, just if you maybe wanted to see what it looked like off that first generation. But for now, let's include all of these. And then finally, the branding page. This entire page is also something that you can edit from the editor page, so no worries if you want to make any changes. You can obviously kind of pick from some default themes. If you wanted to get really creative, you could pick exactly what color you wanted to use for this specific client. That's kind of the GamerSupps purple. Let's make this a little bit, let's get on brand here. We'll make that a little bit darker. You can change the font if you were so inclined to do so. For client display name, if the ticket in HubSpot is different from what maybe the client would call themselves, you can basically override that in the client display name. For logo, if you wanted to include the client's logo in the QBR, you would need to find an image. So if I were to take this image directly from the GamerSupps website, I right-click it, I copy the image address, and then I would drop that URL right here, and Mission Control will pull that and put it into the QBR. And then finally, if you wanted to kind of sign your name, you could do that as well. It just kind of pops up at the end of the QBR to say that it was prepared by you. We'll hit next. You can review all this information and then hit generate. It will typically take around 1 to 3 minutes on the very top end for a client like GamerSupps, who has a lot of tickets and especially a lot of customer reviews. That is really what's going to kind of choke it up sometimes. It does a ton of pagination through those CSAT reviews in order to find the ones that mention agents by name. So just as a heads up, it'll take 1 to 3 minutes. So I will pause the recording here and come back when it is done. Alrighty, and then once it is done generating the QBR, you will be brought to this editor page. So starting off at the top, something different is, again, where you can make any of those adjustments to the visuals of the QBR, as well as change if you wanted to include or exclude any of those more additional content pages. So no need to recreate the QBR in order to do so anymore. All of these slides are going to be editable. For any of the KPIs, it should be almost one-to-one. It's usually like incredibly close in terms of the data that it's pulling, so really won't typically be an issue. But if you ever wanted to, you could just click this, edit it, and then it will save automatically. Obviously the same for any of these pages as well. You also have the option to hide any of these sections from the QBR if you wanted to, for whatever reason. So as I'm going through my QBRs, I would be looking for something like this, where like, okay, this isn't really a channel we use, don't want to include that data, but contact form, live chat, email all looks good. Ticket volume is all here, ticket drivers, here's going to be those ticket fields. Again, all completely editable, hideable if you would like. Automation rate is automatically pulled. GamerSupps hates AI, so we will not be including either of those. Here are those revenue stats for the team, as well as the MVP and team player awards. And here are going to be those reviews that it automatically pulls. So it'll always at the top show you any that mention agents by name. So obviously would love to include those because that is always really cool. And these look very nice as well. So we'll include those 5. Obviously next quarter objectives, that Let's Automate page if you wanted to change it. And then down here, you can also see each of the individual additional service offering slides that you might want to include, and you can kind of just double check to see what each of those slides will look like. And then finally, at the bottom here, we do have our service offerings, as I refer to it, the Simon Says graphic that is always going to be included in every QBR by default. It's kind of taking the place of the roadmap that we typically include for every client, and this is going to live inside every QBR. And once everything looks good to go, you can continue to sharing. That being said, if you did ever want to kind of go back and edit things, you can always still do so after this point. But a very cool new feature, and I think something that management kind of wants us all doing in order to track that QBRs have been sent. You can send the email directly from Mission Control. It will come from your personal Talentpop email address. Again, it'll show management that you have, in fact, sent the QBR, and obviously want to make sure that Big Brother is is happy with everybody and sending out their QBRs. Just kidding. But from the top here, you have the option basically. All this is going to do is change the template that's used. So if you have a call booked, it will say like, hey, looking forward to our meeting. Here is your Q2 QBR, or otherwise, here is the link to my calendar for you to book some time with me to go over the QBR. You can drop your Calendly link in there, which will automatically attach it in here. But just to kind of show everyone, let's say I wanted to send this to myself. You can also CC people. You can put like some commas. I don't know why that just decided to evade me there for a second. But let's say that I wanted to send it to Kalina and Aiden as well. Change the subject, of course. If you were going to edit this, if you were to take out the QBR link, it actually won't let you send it. So you do have to send it here. It won't look like a block. It'll look like just a clickable view your Q2 QBR here. So don't worry about this big kind of like block. It's just like there for this version. The QBR link, you can also choose whether it will default to showing the presentation or scrolling view. And again, just to show everyone what those look like, kind of the difference. So the presentation is going to be that more, pretty self-explanatory, but presentation style view, like a PowerPoint that you can obviously flick through. Very nice, very nice. There's all the slides. These are the additional kind of service offering slides that we do. And then I will show off this one because it's kind of cool. It does the little circle. Ooh, very nice, very nice. And then that is the end of the QBR. Each QBR for both the scrolling view and the presentation view will give you the option to download the PDF version as well. I would definitely recommend kind of just always attaching the PDF anyways, because that's pretty easy to do. And even from the email composer, you can automatically do that, which is a nice little thing as well. And then when you're ready to send, you just send that off. It will take a little bit to generate the PDF if you do choose to include it. And voila, there you are. So the email is sent. You can send another immediately if you, I guess, wanted to send multiple. But that being said, if you did jump back to the QBR generator, it kind of keeps track of like where you're at in the process. Again, just so management can see how many you've chosen, how many of those QBRs you've actually created, and then how many you have sent as well. And yeah, I think that's it really. That is the tool. I'm very excited for everyone to be able to use this for the first time. If you have any questions, of course, please don't hesitate to reach out. But yeah, thank you guys so much and hope this was helpful.